Now, since apparently it's enough to have an offset EVF to call a camera rangefinder style, I think it's fair to assume that since I have black hair, I'm a Batman style photographer. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thomas Love here from One Lens Only, and today we're discussing this finally announced Fuji GFX 100 RF. We have been anticipating it because, thanks to Fuji rumors, we knew the specs, we knew the shape, we also had some leaked photos about that camera, and finally we can state and confirm it is a nice camera. It is looking like, it's in the same ballpark as like a Q3 despite a bit taller. So this might make good use for my big hands, but it also has some flaws because compared to the Leica, I know it very well because I use my Leica Q2 for a few years now and I loved it and I know what it means to use a fixed lens camera for your everyday carry, and I use this in many different scenarios. I used it for landscapes, for cityscapes, for night photography. I also do some modeling with that, but mainly for street photography and to record videos. And so the main features of this camera are very well known. You can do more or less whatever you need. You can shoot 4K 30p, which is enough. For a talking head like this, it's plenty. And even if you go around as an EDC, you have an additional angle to record your videos. You will have, of course, your phone and this camera to record 4K 30p. You don't need slow-mo. I don't need slow-mo. I seldom use 4K 60p, but for the rest of the times it's just 24p 4K, and then eventually the reframing because my son is following me, but this is a different thing. This camera is focused on image quality, meaning shooting photography first. And for photography first, it's a great camera. It's a medium format, 100 megapixel. It's something that keeps me away from it because I'm a bit scared of these high resolutions because I had my Leica, which was 47 megapixel, and the file size was already a bit too heavy. At least in my humble opinion, now I'm down to 33 megapixel, but I guess that the sweet spot for full frame would be 24, while 102 megapixel on a full frame, in my humble opinion, it has to live on a tripod. And then if you put it on a tripod, of course, you have it in your pocket because it's small, pocketable, lightweight. It's like around 800 grams, and it's supposed to be always with you. Now you have such a powerful mean with you with one fair limitation, which is this is not a fast glass, it's only a f4. Now, I'm not here to complain. I don't want to do any detriment to the camera that has been announced officially today because I'm sure it will provide great image quality. But for what I saw, I was not invited to Prague and I was not as lucky as other photographers to have the pre-production series in my hands to test thoroughly before doing any comment on it. But I saw a few other photographers who did. One of them is Mr. Bobby Tonelli, which I greet and thank for his service, if we can call it that. And he shot a few photos inside in a restaurant to his partner. And he was the first to say that it has no details in there because when you have not much light, then the camera will pop up the ISO, and he was in a restaurant and the camera was shooting 12,800 ISO. That was way too much, and so his suggestion is to go for manual managing the ISO. Fair enough. A glass which is f4, I'm not complaining about f4 either because I'm using an f4. I picked up for my good self a 24-70 f4 from Zeiss, so I know what limitations come from f4, and I also know that paired to a good stable like in my Sony, it might not be a minus, but that Fuji doesn't even have the IBIS inside. And so the thing to overcome that limitation, and nobody seems to consider that because they're all focused on how slow this lens is. It's not fast enough. Leica has an f1.7, which is much more comfortable in low light situations. It's much more flexible. You can do many more things, but this camera has a leaf shutter, so the Fuji can leave ideally with a flash on top of it. Now, it might not be as portable as other cameras, but consider that there are also some teeny tiny flash that you can mount in the hot shoe. So if you mount the flash in the hot shoe and you have a leaf shutter, well, f4 is not a limitation anymore. Maybe it's just a limitation in depth of field because you want to have the detachment from the background, the blurry background that apparently nowadays everybody want to have. Even smartphones with that computational photography, they work to have this detachment from the background, but I think that organically done with a glass, it's much more pleasing. And so I'm quite sure that glass might give you pleasing results. Now, for when it comes to the price, it's roughly $5,000 plus taxes, plus delivery. It really depends when you live on. In Canada, it might be stellar. In Europe, it's 5.5K, taxes and shipping included, but it's a fair price. It's a fair price compared to Leica. Then you might say Leica, they are overpriced. Of course, they're not cheap, but if you want quality, you have to pay for it. Just think about how much you pay for every single G Master glass with Sony. So if you combine the body and the G Master glass, you are roughly in the same ballpark. So the price is not scaring me either, because I know that good quality, good image quality has a price. And so you can feel free to downsize and go for cheaper options for camera bodies, for glasses, but here you have some sweet proposals, because we all know and appreciated Fuji for the last decades. And so they come out with a brand new product which is first and unique in its genre, because it's the first pocketable medium format camera. I considered portable also the Hasselblad X2D back then when they launched it, because it's more or less the same size. The body size is the same height, same width. It only had a bit bigger of a glass, because this Fuji having a fixed glass, they worked to have it closer to the sensor, and so that's why it doesn't protrude outside that much like the Samilux from Leica does, but it's a bit more compact. It's similar to a pancake glass, but then you have to add on it the weather sealing, which is an additional adapter, and then the hood. And so in the very end, also with that additional adapter and the hood, the length of the glass is comparable to the Leica. So it's really comparable in size, in price, in dimension, and the use case. It's still an EDC. So I'm quite sure there will be great results coming from this camera. So stay tuned in the next week, because I officially asked Fuji. I don't even know if they will ever answer me, because my channel is such a teeny tiny channel, but I asked to have one to test and review in my hands, and then let's see if I can manage to. I would go for the black version. I know you guys are fond of the silver. You are also fond of the silver for the X100V and X106, and also for the A7C Mark II. Every time there's the silver or bicolor option, you go for that, but I'm going stealthy, because remember, I have dark hair, so I am Batman style photographer. I will go for the stealthy black version as well. And in addition to everything that we said already, the camera body, it also integrates a grip, which I didn't have in my Q2 because it was super flat. The body of the camera was super flat apart from the lens protruding. And so this GFX 100 RF also has a grip integrated. So my big hands would be happy with that camera. Fuji, if you are listening, I will be more than happy to test it. Otherwise, guys, please let me know down here in the comments if you are considering it, or if you are not, why you are not. If you are looking to change camera, what are you considering? And apparently, guys, I have to open and flag this case, because it's the second time within a month period that I hear using the term rangefinder style, referring to a camera that doesn't have a rangefinder. So it was the case for the OM system OM3 first, and now for the Fuji GFX 100 RF. They call it rangefinder style just because the EDF, it's not centrally protruding on top, and it's offset and within the body. And so that makes my Sony A7C Mark II a rangefinder style camera too. It's hilarious. Anyway, this is the direction we are taking. 2025 camera industry, plenty of new news. This is a breakthrough because it's new for the company and it's new for the market. So it's officially a breakthrough. thank you, Fuji, for working on breakthroughs. We were kind of annoyed because all the cameras look like the same, but recently we had the Lumix S1R Mark II and the Fuji GFX 100 RF, and these are new news that I only appreciate, so I'm thankful for this news in 2025 before the AI will be munching and stealing our jobs. So guys, with that, I hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, please remember to like it, share it on your social media, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the reviews to come, and I guess I will see you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.